mind you, I have never watched a vlog in my life. So this is my first exposure to a vlog. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Am I doing it right? I don't know. I'm going to tell you my version of the story. It started in January, the very end of January. We got this crazy email that everybody was talking about, like, is it spam? It came out that it was legit. It was from OPM, Office of Personnel Management. And it was basically asking, is this a legitimate email? And it just said, type yes and respond. And so I did. And then didn't think much of it, and I didn't understand why we got the email. But then we got another email a week or two later, and it talked about if you want to resign your federal employment, then basically simply respond with one word: resign. I understand what it means to have good bosses, to have awesome coworkers. Every single weekend, I literally got a 3-day weekend. I got every federal holiday off. I got so much annual leave every year, sick leave. I mean, am I just crazy for giving that up? So a little backstory here. My husband, Wes, and I, we have 4 kids, and 3 of them are out of the house now. And I would typically spend my weekends sitting on the couch watching Netflix and just vegging. And I just wasn't getting a lot of enjoyment out of that. There wasn't a lot of fulfillment in that, It's great to just like decompress and everything, but for it to be an everyday, every weekend kind of thing, like I was missing out on something. I was missing something. And it was that way for a long time. And even my kids would be like, every time we come over here, all we ever do is just watch TV. My husband and I have been married for 20 years. And he works very hard. He is the hardest worker that I know, and I respect him with every ounce of my being. And what he does is he goes out to the shop and he works on vehicles. And he tells me that going out to the shop is like his zen, right? That's his hobby, that is his zen, that is his way to decompress, because he has a very stressful job. And I've always been semi-jealous of that I didn't really have that hobby, that outlet, whatever. And so we were going out for the weekend, and we were talking about like how I need a hobby, and how he's just like, you could get into knitting. And it's like, if anybody knows me, like knitting, nothing against any of you that are into knitting and gardening. It's just not for me. It's just not really who I am. I mean, I used to be a competitive horseback rider. It's that adrenaline rush. But I realized that it is really important for someone to have a hobby. He's always been one of those guys that's really into YouTube. Every Saturday morning, he's watching his various YouTube videos. The YouTube videos that he liked to watch were diesel types of videos, very high horsepower diesel videos, like, they're sled pulling and going on the dyno and seeing how much horsepower they have. And then also Jeeping videos. And I used to tease him all the time, like, what is so great about driving a Jeep 3 miles an hour over a rock? Like, I just don't get it. A few years ago, I ended up going out on the trails. We have a Jeep, and it wasn't with my husband, it was with some of my coworkers. And they took me out to Sand Hollow, which is in southern Utah, and went out on the trail, and I had an amazing time. Ended up breaking out the back window of the Jeep, but that's a story for another day. Anyways, I ended up falling in love with it. And one day, Wes just like, we should start a YouTube channel. And it's like, why? I don't even know YouTube. I don't consume YouTube at all. I am a marketing major. I haven't done any kind of marketing in like 10 years since I've been a federal employee. And even when I was a content creator and a social media marketer, the only things that I did was grow the Facebook page, and that's when Instagram was really starting to kind of come into its own. And so I didn't really know much about that, and I had never really made a video ever. I've made like, I could probably count on one hand how many videos that I made. Maybe some of the kids when they were swimming and in gymnastics and stuff. I made some. I think I made it on like Windows Media Maker or something like that, and some for my mom. But other than that, I have no experience making videos. And I told him, it's like, I have no business being on YouTube. But the more and more we talked about it, he really wanted to start dabbling in building up diesel trucks. So he had built a Jeep from the ground up. It was a TJ. Ella swapped it, and it's super high horsepower. It's an amazing machine. It really, really is. That's the Wesicon. I know, we so great with names, right? So original. We agreed to start a YouTube channel, and really it was something for us to do because we were almost empty nesters. And at first it was great. Like I was going out and I didn't know what I was doing. We bought this camera and I couldn't get the settings right, and everything was overexposed, and and then trying to create videos, I opened up Creative Cloud and I looked through all the different options for content creation, and I found Adobe Rush, which is just a simplified version for video creation. Of course, I jumped on that. Started creating in there, and there's just not a ton of options and not a lot of ways to tweak all of my mishaps with the camera. So started doing some research on YouTube, and when I realized how great of an asset YouTube is for education, I started just doing a deep dive into YouTube and content creation and how to create a channel. And I just became fully immersed into it. And the more I started making videos, I realized the more creative side of me was coming out. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I told myself that I had one goal, and that was for every video that I made, that I would make it like 1% better, that I would tweak something, that I would just try to make it better somehow, right? Whether it was tweaking the thumbnail, tweaking the title, tweaking the way I created it, focusing more on the hook, that kind of stuff. All the catchphrases that you hear on YouTube. And I, of course, stayed away from Adobe Premiere Pro because there was one time that I opened it up and I was absolutely floored because it was so overwhelming. There were so many different things to look. Like, I didn't even know what I was looking at. I even tried to watch a YouTube video and I tried to follow along with it. No, absolutely not. I couldn't do it. So I stayed with Adobe Rush. It was safe. It was easy. And then I got to the point where there was a few different videos where it's like I really needed to tweak some stuff, and there just wasn't enough options for me to tweak those videos. And so I took the plunge, just learning how to use it, learning how to understand the YouTube algorithm, learning how to understand human behavior and what drives us, what retains us, what keeps us onto a video. And then the most important thing is that time that I had with my husband, who was doing the job that he loves. It's his hobby. He loves it. He's been begging me to be out in the shop with him for years. And he jokes now with people that it's like all it took was for Debbie to start a YouTube channel, and that's what got her out to the shop. Like, if I would have known that, I would have started that 5 years earlier. I've never felt so close to him. I've never been so passionate about a hobby. And it's one of those things where, you know, if you were doing it for just a couple weeks and you were all giddy about it and everything, that it loses its luster after a while. I would have to look to see how many videos I've made, and I've tried to stay on a semi-consistent schedule about once a week or so. I've been doing this now for 7 months, and it hasn't lost its luster. It's a lot of work. I was staying up till midnight editing and rendering down videos and stuff, and then waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So let's rewind back to the OPM email. So I was given the option to resign my position. And I don't take that lightly, because everybody that I work with, I absolutely love. And I would work with them until the day I died. Do I love the job that I do? I don't think that the government is efficient even in the slightest. I tried to make it as efficient as I could, but you know, there was a lot of hurdles and barriers for me to overcome that I couldn't, which was very, very frustrating. Wes and I had talked about in the future, like if Beam and Build blew up, that maybe I could quit my job. Maybe I could do this full time, you know. He saw how much I love it and how much I'm sacrificing and how much I'm just deep diving into it, and it's just become an absolute passion. I haven't watched TV in months, literally months. And it's the most freeing and rewarding thing ever. So when I got this email, I brought it up to him, fully expecting him to be like, yeah, absolutely not. The way I was looking at it is, here it is, end of January, beginning of February, until September is 7-8 months. 7-8 months of getting my full salary, full benefits, still accruing leave and stuff like that. There has never been a time in my life when anyone's ever offered me 7 months of pay. And I don't expect that I would ever in the future get the same opportunity. And so we talked about it, and you know, it had been kind of a hobby for him and I. We've always had the goal for it to succeed. Of course, you don't start something for it just to fail. We want this to succeed, obviously. My time is always divided because of work and because of other obligations. This is an opportunity to have 8 months of solid time where I can build a strategy, possibly help it take off. Will it? To be determined. I don't know. We all know statistics when it comes to failing business. That's where the learning comes in, you know. I've always looked at failing as the first attempt in learning, and I don't like to fail. And he knows this about me. So I went into work on February 6th, the day that it was due, and full intention of writing the email, sending it off, resigning. And in my mind, I thought I was done. I sent the email, one word, resign. And after the conversations that I had with Wes, like we really struggled with the decision. We really, really did. And there was moments of me being terrified, But at the time that we made the decision, and when I went into the office to write that email, I was at peace with that decision. I really, really was. So I sent it. And my bosses were totally on board. They understood. I mean, they're one of the 256 followers that I think I have. Yeah, 256 followers. I am resigning a federal position, a GS-11 position. Let that sink in. I'm not even close to being monetized. I would say I have years before I make any money. Well, I take that back. We did a couple lives on TikTok and I think I made like $18. That's something, I guess. That's something. As much as I want to be so excited about it, I am absolutely terrified. The big but with it is here I thought that was going to be my last day, and it wasn't. No one knew what was going on. No one could give any kind of information. A week went by and we got an email saying that everyone that was teleworking must come back to work. I live over 50 miles away from my work, and I enjoyed the 2 out of the 4 days of teleworking. And that's not because I was sitting and eating bonbons on the couch, watching TV while I'm working. I was actually working, and in fact, I was actually better working at home than I was in the office because no one was bugging me. I'm the kind of person that I get kind of zoned in into whatever I'm doing. And when someone comes in to talk to me, it kind of derails me, right? And I hated that commute. Really, really did. There was a silver lining because the email did say that if you live outside of 50 miles that you didn't need to come into work every day starting the next day, that I had until May 31st. And then the second bit of information that I got was that it was a very little chance that they would allow me to resign, which really pulled at my heartstrings because Wes and I really, really struggled with this decision. I mean, it's kind of a big decision. So I was kind of sitting in limbo for a while. No one knew any kind of information. Any kind of information that they did get, they would trickle it down, and there was talks about positions being exempt, and that didn't make any sense to me. They're exempting my position. Like, what if this is something that I've decided that I wanted to do? You're going to tell me that I can't take this resignation. Anyway, so I was in limbo for a while, and then it came out a couple weeks after I had made the decision. Now, if any of you have been in the military before, you might understand the idea of slots, right? Now, when it comes to federal technicians, there are finite number of slots available for jobs. The states work really hard to be able to get more slots because they have to prove that they need more help and everything. And sometimes it can take 6 months to a year to get a new position. So I understand how valuable being in a slot is and getting a new slot. I found out 2 weeks after I resigned that if a person resigns, that not only does that person leave the organization or the agency, but the slot also goes with them. That made me feel like crap. If I would have known that information, it would have changed my whole decision making process. There is no way that I wanted to screw over my agency at all. At all. It didn't matter how much I wanted to do my hobby and how much I love it. I didn't want to screw them over. Anyways, I was still in limbo. Nobody was telling me anything, and it just 3 weeks into it, it just seemed like it was kind of work as normal. And then on Thursday, I got an email from one of my bosses, and he said, "Congratulations, your resignment has been approved, and that they'll have paperwork ready for you to sign on Monday." And of course, there's all sorts of other stuff, like if you're over 40, which I am, that you have 45 days to decide on it. And once you sign, you have 7 days, to retract it if you have a change of mind or heart. And it's like, still, like, does that mean that if I come in on Monday, I sign the paper and then I just bounce? Like, what is it? Still really no answer. So I went on into work yesterday, knowing that I was going to meet with my supervisor, and I was going to look over the paperwork, and that I'd make my decision. And of course, talking to Wes over the weekend, he was still fully on, just making sure you're still on board. Like, in the last 3 weeks, we've gained like 10 subscribers. He's still on board. Like, at this rate, we might have like maybe 100 more by the time the money runs out. And he was still on board. But it's something that we decided to do together. And we're all in. We are all in. So, I signed. And I thought for sure, like, I already had some planned leave. Like, it was already planned weeks ago. We're going on a trip, leaving tomorrow actually, going down to Sand Hollow to go wheeling. And I knew that they would want me to hand off stuff to other people, and I'm more than willing to help. And I am not that kind of person that I'm just going to leave them high and dry, ever. They wanted my computer, and that's fine. I turned it all in, turned in my monitors, cleaned out my office. I wasn't expecting to do that yesterday. I don't know what I was expecting yesterday. I pulled up through the gates, knowing it might be the last day I go through the gates. And I packed up my office. And it's funny because there was just like not a lot of communication. And of course, like, we weren't advertising to people who were the ones that were resigning. When I went to go turn in my computer, there were so many people that were just shocked. They're like, well, what are you doing? Like, why are you turning in your stuff? And it's like, I no longer work here. Sent my out of office reply saying that I no longer work for the agency anymore. And I've gotten several emails or several text messages today wondering what the hell is going on. So I put all my stuff in the car, and some of my coworkers helped me bring it out. Gave them big hugs goodbye. And they made a mistake by saying, "Don't you cry on your way home." Because the second I got into the car, I definitely did. And I drove home. And today was my first day as a full-time content creator of my gigantic YouTube page of 250 some odd followers and an Instagram page of maybe 500 followers. But I'll tell you this right now. I absolutely love this. I love it. Learning something new every single day. It's just a new adventure every single day. No more red tape that I have to try to go through. There's none of that. I am so excited and terrified. I've been doing deep dives into storytelling, into utilizing AI. So many things that I would have never even researched if it weren't for this. And I have learned so much, and I am going to continue to learn so much. So I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning one morning, and I had this idea. That outside of Beeman Build's YouTube channel and the platform and everything, that I would start my own vlog. Now, mind you, I have never watched a vlog in my life. So this is my first exposure to a vlog. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Am I doing it right? I don't know. Am I supposed to be like showing you guys how I'm making my coffee? I don't know. But I could create a vlog and I could document on like a weekly basis what I've learned that week. Like how much the channel's grown, maybe. Over the last few months, I've watched a lot of very good YouTube videos that have really stuck out to me and have really resonated with me. And there seem like some very key points that I've taken away from them. That it's like, well, every week maybe I could share what I learned with people. You know, there's so many good videos out there about content creation, about everything, that if you're in the same boat as me, you know, being a newer YouTuber, a content creator, and you're going through the same struggle, like why not go through the same struggle with me? You know, we can be friends. We can, you know, send each other different YouTube links and videos and things that we've learned together. But that's something that I can contribute, that I can post up videos that really resonated with me, and the highlights of those videos that I found to be very, very helpful. And then I figure after a year, if that's once a week, that's 52 videos worth of things that I've learned. And if nothing else, and if there's literally not one person watching this at all right now, then at least this is for me. That in a year, I'm going to watch this and we'll see how far we've come. And just to see where it started, you know? And I'm hoping that, you know, if I'm talking to my future self right now, me 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I hope you're doing good. I hope we made the right decision. I really, really do. So I ask the question now. So now what? I'm scared. Sometimes you feel like you have this imposter syndrome, like, oh, Debbie wants to be a YouTuber. Ooh, you know, like, I'm not trying to be anything. I'm doing tutorials on how to fix your truck and entertaining people by showing how we wheel and stuff, and just doing something fun together. I really, really want this. And I'll end with this. My brother Daryl, absolutely love him. He gives me some of the best advice ever. And when I told him what I was thinking about doing, and he asked me how I felt about it, and I just said, I'm terrified, I'm scared, I'm super nervous about it. And he said, you know, the body doesn't really recognize the difference between anxiety and excitement. He said, a lot of news reporters will talk to pro athletes as they're going into a big game, right? And they'll ask them, how are you feeling? And you know what a lot of them say? That they're excited, right? It's because they understand that phenomenon and they harness it in a good and positive way. And so that is going to be my thing for this week. As scared as I am and as anxious as I am, maybe am I excited? I don't know. I think so. Anyways, if you want to join me in this whole journey, subscribe to my channel. Don't subscribe. Whatever you want to do. I don't even know what this is. At least give me a like or something. I don't know. Sat here and poured out my soul for the last however minutes. But I hope to get to know you guys and look forward to this journey. Thanks.